Wednesday, that means it's Joe Steckler Day, Helping Seniors of Brevard. And here is the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Joe Steckler. Hi, Joe.
Hi, John, and thank you for the introduction. I also have with me co-host Barbara McIntyre from the Home Equity Loan
Reverse Mortgage Funding.
Reverse Mortgage Funding. After all these years, I can't get it right, but I can get Kerry Fink right. And,
Good.
Because Kerry will do what I tell him to do.
I see.
Most of the time. I'm only kidding, folks. That's, doggone, if you can't have fun, it's hard to get along in this world if you can't have fun.
Right.
And I was sitting at home the other night thinking this coronavirus has made us change our way of living. We, as a people, we're very gregarious. We love to talk. We love to be around people. We love to shop. We love to do things. And with the coronavirus, it's made us think twice about doing those things. And then you look at the states, and each governor seems to do things differently. They got a heck of a problem up in New York. We got a problem here in Florida. The problem is not so much the coronavirus; it's the governor getting the state back to work so they can get the revenue from the tourist industry, so the state can pay its bills.
Right.
And so everybody's got a reason for doing what they do. And it's been brought home to me a lot by this coronavirus. And I look at the calls, Kerry and Barbara, that our education specialists give, and I've got to call one gentleman back because he called me about a question about long-term health care insurance, and he was thinking about canceling it, and I said, please don't do that. I've got the same situation as you do, and if you can afford to keep it, keep it. But that's got to be your call, and I got to call him back this afternoon to see what he did, because I just hope he didn't do what I think he might do, and because it would be detrimental to his estate planning. And this is something that a situation like we have today causes fear. People don't know what they got in assets that they really have assets, but they don't think about it. And Barbara McIntyre from Reverse Mortgage Funding, I got it right that day.
Good job.
I really did. But she's got an article that's going to be in Senior Scene magazine, and we're going to try to base a show on that article today, because it shows seniors, and that's about half of Brevard County, and at least a fourth are in the situation that we're going to talk about on the show today. And you do have assets, but you've got to recognize what they are. But Barbara, I want to caution people in taking out a reverse mortgage or taking a mortgage or a loan of any kind. You got to be a disciplined person to follow the guidelines of whatever it is that you said you're going to do. You just can't spend the money willy-nilly. It won't work. I'd like for you to just talk about some of the statistics, some of the things that you've seen, and that we're finding out about now. And Kerry and I will sort of ask you questions about it. Okay?
Sure, absolutely. You're right, Joe. The funds that people decide to access from the equity of their home really is an asset that can be put into a long-term plan. It's not found money that should just be spent quickly or frivolously. You should approach even looking at a reverse mortgage as a long-term strategic plan. And for example, the gentleman that wants you to call him back, who's debating about his long-term health insurance plan, his long-term care plan, those plans can be expensive. But if the benefits are there to help him age in place with the help of that insurance policy, that's another of all the many reasons people use reverse mortgages, is to access funds to pay that premium. So where you say it might be terrible advice for him to cancel it, it very likely could be terrible for him to cancel it, but the use of the reverse mortgage might assist him in paying the premium. So, as I always say, knowledge is power, and that's what people have to do when, especially now, they're faced with so many different challenges with COVID, with, even some people working at as greeters in a store might have been furloughed or laid off, and that little bit of income that was helping them get by could be gone. So looking at the equity in your home and finding out how it can be used smartly and strategically is just pretty important right now.
Yeah, well, to start to reinforce what you're saying, is we don't think about what I'm going to talk about because it's just something people don't really think about. We all sort of earn Social Security, but let's say there's a couple that live in there. They've been married for years and they got really good Social Security, but it's a joint income.
Right.
And what happens if one of those spouses has to go to an assisted living place or has to do something else, and then they lose that half of the income?
Right. Or one passes away, which we know that generally, one of the two folks is going to predecease the other. That's a huge problem when you've grown to live off this double Social Security income, because that income is reduced. You can only now collect the amount of money from the highest dividend, Social Security payment. You can't continue to collect both. Again, that can be a huge lifestyle change, at which case, if you're in your home, you've been making ends meet, but now you've lost that income, your home can actually be used as an ongoing revenue stream with a monthly income, like an annuity that pays and pays as long as you stay in the home. Very big resource. Or there are people who have taken out mortgages on their property, and even at a later age, perhaps in their 70s, they took out a mortgage. So for 15 or 20 years, they're committed to a payment. The reverse mortgage can eliminate that payment possibly. That's the single biggest factor that can improve the daily budget of elders living in their home today, is getting rid of that required monthly principal and interest payment.
Barbara, what it really is, you said people take a mortgage on their home. A reverse mortgage, that's a mortgage too.
Sure it is.
But what's the difference between taking out a straight mortgage and a reverse mortgage on your home? Explain the difference if people do something like that. And if a person takes a mortgage of any kind, they got to be disciplined to... they got to know what they're doing.
Right, they do. And the biggest single difference is a conventional regular mortgage requires some form of payment every single month. If it's a line of credit through the bank, then it's going to require, at the minimum, an interest payment. Usually now, home equity lines of credit from your bank require a principal and interest payment. If it's a regular conventional first mortgage, then it's definitely going to require principal and interest payment. The problem is, if for some reason something happens, a life event, and you cannot make that payment, unfortunately, you have now defaulted on your loan agreement. That forward conventional mortgage will start a foreclosure action for non-payment of those obligations. A reverse mortgage, on the other hand, really should be called a flexible payment mortgage, because you can make payments of any type anytime you choose, but you're not required to. So no matter what happens as you go along, if a life event happens and you don't, or you just choose not to make a principal and interest payment, you're well within your right to do so. So situation like now, when you need more funds in your bank account, when money might be being tight, you just don't make any payment at all, and you're at no risk of being foreclosed on. You only pay your taxes and insurance in an ongoing manner every year, and as long as you do that, you live in your house until you choose not to. And that's really the biggest difference between the two products.
Kerry, you got the prettiest mask on of all of us in the studio today.
Yes, he does.
And you keep nodding your head at the things that Barbara's saying. Why are you nodding your head?
Well, we were literally just this morning was having this conversation with a fellow who now 3 months into COVID is trying to figure out if he's going to be able to pay his mortgage this month. And he had talked to the bank each month, I guess. So this sort of started in March. And so in March and in April, he was able to make his payment. But now it's a little doubtful where he's going to be able to be in this month, whether he's going to be able to make that payment or not. And as Barbara was saying, then all of a sudden now the bank, I told him, I said, the bank doesn't want your house, but you have the loan and it's got to be worked out some way. And I was thinking we had this conversation, I think, either on a Helping Seniors update or maybe on the last Helping Seniors radio show, where you were explaining that because the banks are willing to give some room for some period of time, whether it be 90 days or help you along those ways, they're still going to need to get paid. And wouldn't be valuable to take those 90 days right now, maybe work out that payment agreement or something with the bank, but then sit down and talk with Barbara about how you might be able to use a reverse mortgage to not only make sure that you can repay those 90 days when it comes up, but also maybe even eliminate the mortgage payment through the use of that. Because for most people, that mortgage payment could be $700, it could be $1,000, it could be $2,000 a month. In this particular gentleman's case, it's $1,500 a month. So that's a pretty big number that you're trying to cross when you're, if your income is unsure or things like that.
Kerry, absolutely right. And I'm speaking with people all the time now. If they are 62 years and older, they currently have a mortgage payment, and it could be every bit as big as you're talking about. They are looking to see if their equity in their home, beyond the mortgage debt they have, allows them to refinance into a reverse mortgage. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely a wonderful solution to protecting themselves against potential default on a current mortgage. And interestingly, what most people don't realize about reverse mortgages is that once things settle down and people are able to get back to normal and are back working and their budgets are back to what it should be, they can make a mortgage payment to a reverse mortgage anytime they want. What's really unique about the reverse mortgage is that when they make that payment, it immediately becomes available to them in the form of a line of credit for future withdrawals. So unlike a conventional mortgage, when you make payments to a reverse mortgage, it's like a revolving line of credit that you're establishing. People just, when they hear that, they are always, what? I can actually redraw it? And then when I explain to them that in addition to that, the line of credit will actually increase their borrowing power over the years at a rate of interest, the same rate of growth as the debt. The comment I usually get is, why doesn't everybody have a reverse mortgage?
Right.
And so my job, educate, one person at a time. And I just explain the facts, see if it works for them. And if it does, we ride along.
Every so often they'll send you one of those credit card things where you have a credit card and they say, oh, we're going to give you a payment holiday. You can skip this month, it's Christmas time, so you can skip your payment this month.
Right.
And it sounds great, but of course on the backside, you're just going to make it up. But at least you don't get dinged for not making your minimum payment.
Absolutely.
Or whatever they're asking for. And so in the way you describe a reverse mortgage, it sounds like it's really like you're in control. You could decide, I do want to make a payment every month and restore, my borrowing power, my equity in the home. Or I could just not make a payment because this is what the situation's requiring.
Right. That's exactly how it works. And what it does is, just you said, it really gives the power to the senior to really manage their retirement. And when they put that in place with all the other factors that they are hoping to have to help them live a quality life, the many, many years we're living into retirement, it's just a lifesaver. And people that use the product or learn about the product, if they don't use it today, I can assure you they come back to me at some point in time and put it into place. It's just a matter of when they're going to do it, because it makes a really, really good piece to a retirement plan.
Barbara, I've got a question.
Uh-huh.
If you you said earlier, why doesn't everybody have a reverse mortgage? Well, I want to ask a question. Why don't we? Let's see. The average, I would say, at least by the time a person's 80 years old, most of them that have bought a home, it's all paid for, and you don't have mortgage payments. But what if they have a problem and they need cash? And I would say, especially here in Florida, those people, if they're 80 years old, and their home probably, let's say it's probably worth $250,000 or $100,000 or $300,000, right?
Correct.
Let's say if a home is worth $300,000, what is the limit on a reverse mortgage they could take? There's a formula, and that's why I'm asking you. Use $300,000.
There's really not a standard formula, but because interest rate always drives the percentage borrowers can tap into, along with the exact age of the borrower. But just a rule of thumb to give someone an idea, I would say they would have access to about 50 to 55% of their home's value. Just having access to it does not mean they have to use it. They can use part of it to pay off a mortgage. They can put it all in a line of credit, or they can draw it slowly as an income stream. They have many, many options.
Wait a minute. If they're still paying on their home, they could take the reverse mortgage and pay off the mortgage?
Pay off the existing mortgage, exactly right. That's where we were saying right now, I'm having folks come to me to say, I'm struggling to make a mortgage payment. And just like Kerry said, they may have a 30 to 60 day deferral period from their current lender saying, I'm going to give you a mortgage break. And they may come to me and say, Barbara, can we do a refinance so that I can pay off my current mortgage? And then when I'm able to make payments again, I'll be able to. And that's when I step in and go ahead and refinance that current mortgage into a reverse mortgage.
Well, what kind of cost is there for doing something like that?
The cost also kind of vary, because costs oftentimes have to do with the interest rate as well. So depending on the strategy that the borrower is trying to accomplish, some loans have loan origination and some have or don't have any or have a lesser. Reverse mortgages are expensive because reverse mortgages are insured by FHA. FHA mortgage protection is what makes the reverse mortgage work the way it does. So that cost is always attached to the loan and makes it a little more expensive. All the costs to a reverse mortgage roll into the loan. So there's very little cost that comes out of a borrower's pocket. Usually, when the benefits of the mortgage and what you're trying to accomplish is shown to you and really documented over time how it would look over years, Most borrowers do not feel the cost of the mortgage is prohibitive. I will say this, reverse mortgages are for people who want to live in their home. Because the costs are higher, it's not a short-term loan. It's a loan designed to assist senior borrowers who want to stay or age in place. With that being said, though, the borrower controls what he wants to do. If 3-4 years after he does a reverse mortgage, chooses to sell and move, it's completely up to the borrower.
Well, if you do decide to sell and move, you just, out of the selling money you get, you pay off the mortgage.
Exactly right.
But I just sitting there while you're talking, and every time I ask you a question, you talk a long time.
Yeah.
You talk a long time because it's good information, and,
Right.
And I like that you do that because it helps people understand why I've asked the question or why Kerry asks you the question. Just started doing some rough mental calculations here about money and everything. Generally speaking, homes have got most people that are 80 to 90 years old can actually take out a reverse mortgage in the order of $100,000 or more.
Mm-hmm.
And you put that mortgage in place, and if you do have to pay long-term carrier insurance out of it, you got a $3,000 cost maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You pay that out of it.
Exactly.
And if you're worried about how much you're going to leave kids or something else, you figure out you're 80 years old, and those kids are probably in their 50s or 60s. And if they haven't by this time figured out how they're going to take care of themselves, they got a heck of a problem ahead of them. If they're banking on you to pay their way in the future, because it's just not going to happen. If kids that are in their 50s and 60s and 40s today don't have a good plan and take some of that money and put it in to something that's going to assist them as you get older. And I want to caution people, you got to be careful about all the improvements you make to your home and what you add on to it, because that doesn't enhance the value of the house as much as people would think it does. Am I right now or not?
Yes, you are right about that too. You can't over-improve a home either, because you may not recoup your money. But, most people, and I would say this in defense of children, that, you would think, well, my kids may be opposed to me doing a reverse mortgage, but for the most part, your children really do want you, especially as you age, to have what you need and to not do without and to be comfortable and not be worried about monies. And I oftentimes, because I actually ask, I love to meet with an entire family. If the borrower has children that live nearby and they feel that they have an interest more than just inheriting, they have an interest to know how mom's doing, I meet with them all, and just to make sure they know. So, it is important that the whole family's involved.
Kerry, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the advantages of what you're talking about is, again, I keep hearing this word, you're really in control of the situation, so that when you want to make the payments, you can make payments. When you're not able to make payments or you need to divert the funds to some other source, you have that ability. Like Joe said, you can insure to make sure that you stay insured. You even if your mortgage is paid off, right, your tax bill and your insurance bill still goes on, and you need to make sure that you have funding to cover those things. So I can't see what the harm is in sitting down and having a conversation with you about somebody's particular situation, just if nothing else to sort of understand what's possible and what's not.
Exactly right, Kerry. That's what I say all the time, and encourage people to call me at 321-259-7880. 321-259-7880. Never hurts to just ask.
No, it's good.
It's very good.
It's really, I keep thinking we're going to get out of this
Whatever they want to call it.
At COVID-19, we're going to get out of that pretty soon, I hope.
I do too.
Yeah, we've left 19 a long time ago. We're in 20.
That's right. This is what we're talking about today is something people need to start thinking about, because we've had to think about so many other things. People in the United States own so many homes, they're worried about what they're going to get to pay bills.
Right.
They've got assets that can do it. They can't depend on the government to keep funneling money to them to pay their bills. They can't depend on kids to do it. They got to be able to do it themselves. They got an asset to do it. Why not do it?
Right.
So with that thought, we're going to take our mid-show break. And are you ready, John, for the mid-show break? Oh, getting a good one. All right. We will take our mid-show break, and then we'll come back right after that. And folks, please stay with us. We'll try to enlighten you some more in the next half hour.
You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard with your host, Joe Steckler. And once again, here's Joe.
Good afternoon, and I welcome back to the second part of the show. Folks, if you have a question about what Barbara is talking about here with reverse mortgages, you can always call us here and ask a question. The phone number is 722-9998. That's 321-722-9998. If you want to call Helping Seniors, the phone number there, and we encourage you to call us if you got problems, if you got a problem of any kind, you need information, need help, and need to be educated about something, call us. I could sit here all afternoon and tell you about all different kind of calls we get. We get them from A to Z. So that phone number is 321-473-7770. 473-7770. And we do get a lot of questions, folks. And one of the things that Helping Seniors was founded to inform, educate, and connect people to resources. That's one of the things that's, you talk about a resource, Barbara, is with reverse mortgage funding is a tremendous asset and resource for the county. There are other ways to develop resources, and someday we'll be able to put pressure on our governors across the United States of America to do this. But in Florida, we've got a wonderful asset that's designed to help companies. Just consider for a moment, it was in the newspaper this morning, the Florida Today newspaper, and talk about this new building downtown, the high rise, and the apartments are going to rent for something like, I think it was $1,900 a month to $2,700 a month for a 731 square foot space up to 1,031 square feet. And you know, I've had offices that were close to 731 square feet. So that's small. There's not much room. But think about it. The people that need housing can't afford that $1,900 a month for a small place like that. They don't really need it, more space than that. They don't have things to fill the thing up, but they can't afford it. And then we've got so many things we need to do. We've got if it costs $31 million, and that was cost in a paper to build that building, consider the cost of the land and everything. And then the state's got a fund called the Sadowski Funds that was supposed to be used to help different parts of Florida build housing for the people that are don't have a place to live, and they take an average of 155 to 160 million off of that fund every year and put it into the Florida General Revenue Fund. And last year they didn't do it for the first time in many, many years. In fact, in 2 decades, I think. And just consider for a moment that you get a county government. The county's got the land, so the land's free. You build an apartment building complex that doesn't have all that, some of the things they put in these high rises that are adornments. You consider more on a place to live, and if you design it the right way, and folks, I've done this. I've lived through this. I know what I'm talking about. You can design a building, and you can build it for a heck of a lot less than $31 million. And say, what if the state every year selected 10 counties to get maybe $20 million to build assisted living for people that can't afford places to live. Think what we could accomplish if we can get the legislators to think outside the box a little bit, and that goes along with what we're talking with here this morning about reverse mortgages and thinking about the box, and start thinking about what we need to take care of an immediate situation. Kerry, I know that you've talked about that with me so many times. What would you add to what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting because before we hit COVID-19 lockdown, we were getting ready to put together the Helping Seniors Advocacy Council meetings. And in fact, we had one actually scheduled, if you remember, over at our offices at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. And of course, during these times, we still haven't been able to effectively reopen the office because it's co-located with Sawn Beachside and they're using all the protections. But the point was, one of the ideas that we had on the books to talk about at this meeting was exactly what you're referring to, which is the idea of how can we come together to work on a plan for affordable housing here in Brevard for seniors. Because I was thinking two things. Number one, as you mentioned that $31 million is what this property cost, and how many units are actually in there. I wonder what the cost per unit is. And then the second thing that comes to mind is this is ground that you've been across before. You established and found a way to work with the county to create the Joe's Clubs, which are still in operation. And granted, that's day club, but what you're talking about is really an extension of all of that anyway.
Yes.
And so desperately needed. I find when I'm talking with clients who are trying to learn about reverse mortgage and they're living in their home, a big part of the decision-making process is, if I leave my home, where do I go and what's it going to cost? And so, should I stay or should I go is every bit as big a part of the decision. And when your options for senior living are $1,700 to $1,900 a month just for rent, you say to yourself, you know what, maybe I am better to stay in this house and use a reverse mortgage to give me additional funds so that I can have the services I might need, like having my yard taken care of, or different things provided that I just no longer can do myself anymore. It's just cheaper. So it all goes hand in hand in helping borrowers, senior citizens, and baby boomers, the like, deciding what their future's going to look like, what their retirement's going to look like.
Well, I'm interested, Kerry, in doing what you were talking about earlier with our advocacy council from the helping seniors. We want to start this advocacy council so that we can put together plans to advocate for things exactly what we're talking about here today on the show. A wonderful seminar we could have over at when we are allowed to go back to work. Have something just like we're talking about here on the radio show, and we can hold going to be about 80 people in the room, and there's a double benefit to doing these things. That if it promotes our sponsors, it promotes a needs that people don't know about, and how they can help themselves. If you've got assets and you've got a steady income coming in, you've got a really good home that's paid for, you don't really have to worry about what we're talking about here today. But not everybody's like that.
Well, I was thinking of the example, it was not so long ago, I think it was late last year, you held a meeting, or you were invited to a meeting because of your experience over at the Palm Bay, I guess it was the City Hall, I'm not sure.
Right, Terry went to it. Terry and I both went.
And you were talking with a fairly wealthy developer who was trying to create a plan for some low-income housing that would benefit seniors in our area. And the guy was asking, hey, you're trying to put all these economic improvement fees and things in there, and what we're trying to do is create low-income housing. And I remember you sort of described it became a bottleneck, and I guess the guy went back to Brazil and said, I can't make a deal here.
Well, that's right. And I have a note to myself at my home reminding me to call this guy to see this person, to see if this guy is still around, see if he's still interested. These good deals, they don't happen every day. They come around, and when they come around, you got to take advantage of them. And that's why I always talk to the county about trying to put a plan in place. I my whole life has been as a service person in the Navy, and we had to have a plan for what we're going to do, just like you plan where your ships are going to go, and you have to stick to all this stuff as best you can. If you don't have some kind of a plan for maintenance and all that kind of stuff, you don't keep your ships afloat.
Right.
And the same thing is, if you don't have a plan in place to take care of people that need assistance with living, you are going to become homeless, and you're going to go out in the woods, and you're going to find more camps out there, and you're going to find situations you don't want to see. And there's no reason that we have to see that in this country. We have too much that is available to help us do these things, but we've got to put plans out there so they know what to do.
Well, I know that in a lot of cases, some of the folks that have been guests on the Helping Seniors updates here recently, they've been talking about how most of the time they're involved in education. So a lot of how they get people exposed to the things that they can do that help these seniors along is through seminars and things like that. And of course, that's not been possible for them either to have in-person seminars. So what we're hearing now from different people on these Helping Seniors updates is they're starting to go back now where they may have a group. It has to be, a quarter of the size that maybe the room holds, so everybody can be safely distanced. I mean, look at us here in the radio station now. We're all here safely distanced and all wearing our masks. So I know you can do it, but they're also making those available so folks can chime in via Zoom call too. Mm-hmm. So they're letting both sides of that equation happen. And I was thinking, I know of a couple of folks who are starting back in the month of August with some meetings, but they're gonna make them meetings that if you're comfortable, you're welcome to come in. But if you feel safer at home, you can participate via Zoom. Maybe that's an idea we can look at to get this advocacy council meeting moving forward.
Mm-hmm. It's a good idea. I find that more and more seniors, they're more and more internet savvy anyway, so we're starting to see more Zoom meetings very comfortably handled because you just invite them and they pop on and then they're there.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention.
That's right.
So when we got locked down, we had to do something.
Right, and it's been a big part of my business. I have not been meeting people for the most part in their homes. We do Zoom meetings. I'm able to show them the documents right in front of them and use a little pencil to highlight, and we're talking away, and it's as if I'm at their kitchen table anyway.
Well, even Bill Johnson, our board-certified elder law attorney who's been part of Helping Seniors since, even before there was Helping Seniors, he was talking about, and he's going to do the radio show with us next month, talking about now they have put in these digital signing rules where, because one of the challenges I've heard from our elder law attorneys is they have the same problems going into assisted livings that we do. And yet all the things that tend to come up are still coming up. Somebody has to sign a piece of paper and they have to go through all these gyrations to make that happen. So Bill is going to talk with us. It's the first Monday. It's July 1st, actually. Go ahead and put that on your calendar for Helping Seniors Radio, 12 noon Wednesday. But that's what he wants to talk about. He wants to tell us about the new laws because everybody's having to learn how to work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Kerry, you mentioned something, and we do it all the time. We've got to be very careful about use acronyms and use numbers for letters to identify something, and people don't know. And you talk about Helping Seniors updates. Explain to our listening audience the difference between our updates and the radio shows.
Oh, that's a great question, and I laugh at that because what you said about acronyms is so true. We live on the Space Coast where with NASA, we've heard every acronym. Some of them we know, some of them we don't. But what Helping Seniors is, that was an idea that we started with just as we went into lockdown, because at that time we knew that we were going to have to come up with some creative way to keep the radio show going, which we did via Skype for many weeks, thanks to John and Jim figuring out how to do it before we could safely get back to the studio. But also we weren't able to do the normal television recordings. So we said, why don't we, since everybody's going to be glued to social media now, why don't we create just a 3-time a week update, a little fast 15-minute or so, 12, 15 minutes, where we can talk to people around the county and find out what's going on, what services are opening, what services have been curtailed, what advice do people have to stay safe. Because now that we're a little bit on the phase 2 reopening side, things are a little bit more clear than they were. But if you remember at the outset, nobody was sure what tomorrow would bring. We couldn't find toilet paper, then we couldn't find hand sanitizer, and everybody was trying to figure out how do we adjust to this. So we created the Helping Seniors Updates. You can find them on our Facebook page. We put them out on our Twitter page, our LinkedIn page. They're out on our YouTube page. We post them to helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. And so and even our Instagram page, we put all those things out. So whichever social media you like, you can access it. And Monday, like you and I did one on Friday where we were talking. Monday, I talked with Kim Bernard, and she was telling about some of the calls and things and the what people have been calling in and asking for help about during these times. And then we've had folks like Amy Van Fossen, elder law attorney. Barb, you've done a couple, and it was interesting because like the first one we did was fairly early on, and you were just adjusting to getting people to work by Zoom. And the last time we spoke, you said, no, if a customer likes, we can do the social distancing. I can come out and still make it work. So what we're trying to do is just make people aware, as we have always done through everything we do with Helping Seniors, of information that's going to help them, particularly in uncertain times like we have been in.
Well, for 9 years, I've tried to get grant funding from one organization. And every time that organization comes back with a letter telling us what we did wrong or why they won't give us money. And it's not much money. It's the max grant to give is $5,000. But the guy said, well, maybe I could recommend Helping Seniors for $1,000 because he said, I don't really understand what they do. You know,
that's amazing to me.
Me too, Barbara. You got an organization that gives out money, and they'll give it to somebody feeding chickens, but they won't give it to somebody that's helping seniors.
Oh my God!
You know, and I read through that thing again, and I decided I'm not going to ask them anymore. It's a waste of time to ask them for money, but.
You know, this organization helps so many people in such a variety of ways. I mean, I've gone out to see folks that already did a reverse mortgage, called Helping Seniors and said, I'm confused about what I did, and I was asked to follow up with that person and was able to sit down and make that senior just so comfortable with her decision. There's just, you have a resource, a volunteer resource for so many different things that's willing to help the seniors in this community. I'm appalled that this person you dealt with said, I don't even know what they do.
The thing sort of came to a crux when they said that they know there must be, you know, those kind of positive things. They know that there must be organizations that do the same thing we do, so why should we fund Helping Seniors?
Oh, my goodness.
Sure. You know, it's interesting.
Give me the name of that guy, would you?
I'm
sorry.
It's interesting that in the almost 10 years now that Helping Seniors has been alive and serving the Brevard County area, you know, and we talked about this on Monday with Kim on the Helping Seniors Update. You know, over 3,000 calls and families have been helped free of charge. And people say, well, is that like a referral line? I said, no. And Kim was telling some stories on the Helping Seniors about what it takes to walk through. Monday, we were actually celebrating bringing awareness to you. I guess you wouldn't really celebrate World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, but we were bringing that to the forefront. And I asked Kim, can you relate a story, without giving names, of course, about some of the situations that you've helped across, even since you've been manning the Senior Information Helpline, about where we have actually been in the middle of resolving elder abuse. And she had a pretty strong story that you'll hear if you go back. You can find it on the website. She told about basically a mother that was dropped off at a hotel because she had to get out of her house, and the kids didn't leave any money or anything, and now she's trapped. She's thinking about taking her own life because her son had just passed away like 2 weeks before, and there she is sitting in a hotel. She can't take care of herself. They're probably yelling at her, if you pay your bill, you're out on the street. And this is an elderly woman. And so, Kim had to, through Helping Seniors, get a number of people involved, but was able to make a difference in that situation. And Barb, to go back to your point, tell me that's not valuable.
No, I'm still just disbelief.
Well, that's why it's a struggle. But I just want to, we're just about out of time, but I just want to remind everybody that, every year we do a car raffle, and this was supposed to have been held on the 25th of April, but the Muscle Car Museum closed us down, so we didn't have a place to do it. We had to wait, and ticket sales usually are right about a month and a half to 2 months before the event, and we lost all that. So we got to go back and restart. And we're still trying to get a date that from Mr. Pylock over at the Muscle Car Museum. Governor DeSantis is opening up the state, and as soon as he can say it's going to be open, we'll set a new date, and we'll get started again here. But folks, we need your help, and you can call the office. That number again, 473-7770. And I would tell you honestly and frankly, if I didn't, I'm the chairman of the board. And if we didn't need your help financially, I wouldn't ask for it. We got about 3 minutes to go. I wouldn't ask for it, but I had a couple that bought tickets for the car raffle in December of 2019. I just picked up a check for $100 for 5 more tickets, and there was a note in there, and the note said, I know that we already bought our tickets, but we thought, Joe, that with this epidemic going around, that you might need some more cash for the organization. And so, bless her heart. That's I wish more people thought like that. And
I was going to say, that's the spirit. That's the spirit that's out there. We had a lady who Tammy and I know personally that through a church affiliation, she had bought tickets early in the year, and she saw a post that we had put out on the Facebook page, and she said, "You know what? I'm going to go ahead and buy another $100 because you guys need the help, and I want to be there to help." So for every person, Barb, I think that says, I can't see the value in this. I think Brevard County. The good people here are going to rise up and help make sure that they do take care of the seniors.
Well, the thing about it, we're just about out of time. But if people don't know there's a need, if you don't tell them you need help,
that's right.
They don't know to help you. But I'm telling you, folks, we need you to buy tickets for this doggone car raffle, because if you don't, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm up against a rock and a hard place. So please buy your tickets. Come out and enjoy the event whenever we're going to have it. We will have it, I promise you. And it'll be a fun thing. We've done with people. I think we get about 2,000 people there. Yes. And we're down to 1 minute. And remember, we do this show every Wednesday. So if you got a question today and you want to call the station or call us at the office, you can do it, and we'll answer it next week. We can always get an answer for you, and we'll tell you what it is. So any other comments, Kerry?
Just HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com. Get your tickets and support the work of Helping Seniors.
That's a good way to close out the show.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.